Close your eyes now and listen carefully to the sound of the northern wind. Far beyond the bright cities of the modern world, beyond the trains, the roads, and the endless noise, there is an ancient land wrapped in forests, snow, and quiet rivers that shimmer beneath the moonlight. In that distant place lived a people known as the Ainu, the first guardians of the far north. Tonight, as the world around you grows still, you will journey into their world. A world where bears were believed to carry the spirits of the gods, where rivers whispered ancient songs, where firelight danced softly inside wooden homes, while snow fell endlessly beyond the trees. So let the warmth of the hearth guide you. Let the cold northern winds drift gently through your imagination. And as your eyes grow heavy and the night grows deeper, follow the voices of the old stories into the silent forests of Hokkaido, where the spirit of the Ainu still quietly lives beneath the stars. Far to the north of Japan, where winter snow buries forests in silence and cold winds sweep across rugged coastlines, the story of the Ainu begins. It begins long before modern cities, long before railways crossed the islands, long before Japan became the nation the world knows today. The ancestors of the Ainu lived in the northern regions of the Japanese archipelago for thousands of years, shaping a culture deeply connected to forests, rivers, mountains, and the restless northern seas. Their history stretches back into a world where survival depended not on conquest or expansion, but on understanding nature closely enough to live within its rhythm. The land itself helped shape them. In the ancient north, dense forests covered the hills of what is now Hokkaido. Salmon-filled rivers cut through valleys. Brown bears wandered through deep woodland. Mist rolled across volcanic mountains. Winters arrived with immense force, covering entire landscapes in snow and ice for months at a time. And in this environment, the Ainu developed a way of life unlike any other in Japan. Even today, scholars continue debating the precise origins of the Ainu people. Their ancestry appears connected to ancient populations who lived across northern Japan long before the rise of the dominant Yamato Japanese culture. Many researchers believe the Ainu are descendants of the ancient Jomon peoples, hunter-gatherers who inhabited the islands thousands of years ago, known for their deep relationship with nature and remarkably rich spiritual traditions. There are traces of this ancient world everywhere in Ainu culture, in their reverence for animals, in their oral storytelling, in their rituals surrounding fire, water, and the spirits believed to exist within all living things. For centuries, the Ainu lived across a vast northern territory that included not only Hokkaido, but also parts of Sakhalin and the Kuril Islands. Their communities were linked by rivers, trade routes, and seasonal migration patterns. They traded fish, animal skins, hawk feathers, and crafted goods with neighboring peoples, including the Japanese to the south and other northern cultures across the seas. But despite these connections, the Ainu maintained a strong cultural identity of their own. Their language was entirely different from Japanese. Their spiritual beliefs followed different paths. Their clothing, ceremonies, songs, and worldview emerged from the northern wilderness rather than the imperial courts developing farther south. The Ainu did not traditionally build massive kingdoms or centralized empires. Their strength lay elsewhere. It existed in community, in memory, in adaptation. Villages were often small and closely tied to nearby rivers or coastlines. Families depended on cooperation to survive brutal winters and unpredictable seasons. Knowledge passed through generations, not through written texts, but through spoken stories, carried beside fires during long nights of snow and wind. These stories preserved identity. They explained how the world was formed, how spirits moved through nature, how animals and humans shared invisible bonds. And among all creatures, none held greater importance than the bear. To outsiders, The Ainu relationship with bears could seem mysterious or even unsettling. But within Ainu belief, the bear was not viewed as merely an animal. It was understood as a divine being, a spirit visitor from another realm, temporarily taking physical form on Earth. This belief would later shape some of the most sacred ceremonies in Ainu culture. The natural world was never seen as empty. Every river possessed presence. Every mountain held spirit. Every storm carried meaning. This worldview emerged from generations spent living close to forces far larger than human beings themselves. And yet, the origins of the Ainu are also marked by hardship. As Japanese influence expanded northward over centuries, conflicts began to grow. Trade relationships slowly shifted into systems of control. Diseases spread. Traditional lands were gradually absorbed. Entire ways of life faced increasing pressure. But despite centuries of displacement and assimilation, the Ainu identity endured. Quietly, stubbornly, like embers surviving beneath snow. Today, the story of the Ainu is no longer hidden in silence. It survives in language revitalization efforts, traditional ceremonies, carved wooden art, oral histories, music, and communities determined to preserve what earlier generations fought to protect. Because the origins of the Ainu are not simply buried in the past. They still breathe in the northern forests. They still echo beside frozen rivers and beneath the wide skies of the north. The memory of the first people of these lands continues to endure. The world of the Ainu lies in the far north. It is a land shaped by cold seas, volcanic mountains, endless forests, and winters that seem to swallow sound itself. A place where mist drifts slowly through pine trees, where rivers run silver with salmon, and where snow can bury entire villages beneath a silence so deep it feels sacred. To understand the Ainu, one must first understand this landscape, because the land is not simply where they lived, it is part of who they became. The heart of Ainu territory is found in Hokkaido, the northernmost of Japan's main islands. Even today, Hokkaido feels different from the crowded urban regions farther south. The skies seem wider, the forests feel older. Vast stretches of wilderness remain untouched by dense modern development. In winter, icy winds sweep down from Siberia across the Sea of Okhotsk. Snowstorms can last for days. Entire valleys disappear beneath white drifts. The cold settles into the earth with tremendous force. Yet this harshness also creates extraordinary beauty. Frozen rivers glitter beneath pale sunlight. Cranes move slowly across snowy marshes. Steam rises from volcanic hot springs hidden among forests. Brown bears roam through remote mountain regions where few roads exist. For generations, the Ainu adapted themselves to this environment with remarkable skill. Their villages were often built near rivers, coastlines, or lakes, where food sources remained dependable throughout the changing seasons. Water was life in the north. Salmon migrations filled rivers with movement and abundance. Coastal areas provided fish, seals, seaweed, and trade opportunities. Forests supplied timber, deer, medicinal plants, and protection from brutal winds. Nature dictated rhythm. People moved with the seasons rather than trying to dominate them. Beyond Hokkaido, Ainu communities once stretched much farther. Their presence extended northward into Sakhalin and across the chain of the Kuril Islands. These islands formed part of a vast northern cultural world, connected by sea routes, fishing grounds, and trade networks. The ocean was never viewed as a barrier. It was a pathway. Ainu fishermen traveled dangerous waters in carved wooden boats, navigating through fog, storms, and freezing currents. Along these northern coasts, communities exchanged goods with neighboring peoples, including the Nivk, Japanese traders, and other indigenous groups of the far northeast. But survival in these regions required constant awareness. The northern environment could turn deadly without warning. Volcanic eruptions occasionally shook the land beneath villages. Earthquakes rippled through coastal settlements. Winters brought hunger when hunting failed or fish migrations weakened. Thick forests could easily disorient even experienced hunters. And still, the Ainu endured. Not by forcing the land into submission, but by learning its moods intimately. Children grew up understanding rivers the way others understand roads. Hunters read snow like language. Fishermen studied wind patterns, currents, and animal behavior with extraordinary precision. Every valley possessed memory. Every mountain carried story. Certain places became spiritually important over generations. Sacred sites often existed near rivers, cliffs, or deep forests believed to be inhabited by powerful kamui, spiritual beings connected to nature. Some mountains were approached with caution and reverence. Some rivers were believed to carry unseen presence. The landscape itself became part of Ainu identity. Even now, traces of that relationship remain deeply visible in modern Ainu communities. In towns such as Shiraui and other parts of southern and central Hokkaido, cultural centers work to preserve traditional knowledge, songs, crafts, and language connected to the land. And although modern roads, cities, and industries have changed much of northern Japan, the old environment still survives in many places. Dense forests still cover the mountains. Salmon still return upriver. Winter still arrives with enormous power. There are moments in Hokkaido when the modern world suddenly feels distant. A river moves through silent woodland. Snow falls softly across cedar branches. Smoke rises from a remote settlement at dusk. The sea crashes endlessly against dark volcanic shores. And in those moments, it becomes easier to imagine the ancient northern world the Ainu once knew so completely. A world of endurance, of closeness to nature, of life lived at the edge of ice, forest, and sea. Not separated from the land, but woven into it. The homes of the Ainu were born from the landscape itself, from forests heavy with cedar and elm, from river reeds bending in northern winds, from bark, grass, earth, and water. Nothing was wasted. Nothing was taken carelessly. In the northern territories, where winters could become merciless, survival depended on building shelter that worked with nature rather than against it. The Ainu understood this deeply. Their homes were not designed to impress outsiders or display wealth. They were shaped by necessity, climate, and generations of observation. And within their simplicity existed remarkable intelligence. Traditional Ainu houses were known as sise, structures carefully built from natural materials gathered nearby. At first glance, they appeared humble against the immense northern wilderness. But beneath their reed-covered roofs and wooden frames lived warmth, memory, family, and tradition. Most villages were positioned near rivers or coastlines, where food and transport remained accessible throughout the year. A settlement might contain several houses, standing quietly among trees, connected by worn footpaths and surrounded by storage structures, fishing equipment, drying racks, and smoke rising into the cold air. The houses themselves were usually rectangular in shape. Walls were made from woven grasses, bamboo-like reeds, bark, or wooden planks, depending on local resources. Thick roofs of thatched grass helped insulate against freezing temperatures and heavy snowfall. During winter storms, snow would pile across the roofs, adding another layer of protection against the bitter northern winds. Inside, the atmosphere was dim but alive. The center of the home belonged to the fire. It burned constantly. Flames crackled softly beneath smoke-darkened rafters, while family members gathered nearby to cook, repair tools, tell stories, carve wood, weave garments, or simply survive the long winter nights together. Smoke drifted upward through openings in the roof, carrying with it the scent of fish, deer meat, burning wood, and damp winter air. The fire was far more than warmth. It was sacred. In Ainu belief, the hearth held spiritual importance and was associated with protective forces within the household. Great respect surrounded the fire because it connected daily life with the unseen world of the kamui, the spiritual beings believed to exist throughout nature. Even the arrangement of the house carried meaning. One window often faced east toward the rising sun and served as an important spiritual opening through which spirits were believed to move. Certain directions were treated with care. Rituals accompanied construction. Daily actions inside the home reflected invisible relationships between humans, nature, and spirit. Outside the villages stretched one of the harshest and most beautiful environments in East Asia. The forests of Hokkaido were immense and often dangerous. Towering trees blocked sunlight across thick woodland floors. Bears moved silently through valleys. Wolves once roamed the northern wilderness before disappearing from Japan entirely. Rivers froze solid during winter, while snowstorms buried entire landscapes beneath white silence. And yet, the Ainu environment was also incredibly rich. In spring, thawing rivers returned with salmon migrations. Summer forests filled with edible plants and medicinal herbs. Autumn brought deer hunting and preparation for the coming cold. Winter tested every household's endurance. Life moved with the seasons. Everything depended on preparation. Fish were dried and stored. Animal skins were cured. Wood was gathered before snow deepened. Communities worked together because isolation in such conditions could become deadly. The Ainu did not attempt to overpower this environment. They adapted to it with patience and respect. There was understanding in the way houses were positioned against wind direction, wisdom in how food was preserved, care in how forests were harvested without stripping the land bare. Their world demanded awareness. A sudden storm on the coast could kill fishermen. A failed salmon season could bring hunger. An especially brutal winter could isolate villages for weeks. And because nature possessed such power, the Ainu developed a relationship with the environment built not on ownership, but on coexistence. Even today, traces of that relationship remain visible across northern Japan. In remote areas of Hokkaido, forests still stretch toward volcanic mountains. Rivers still cut through deep valleys. Snow still arrives with astonishing force. And reconstructed Ainu villages now stand as reminders of a way of life shaped entirely by closeness to the land. Inside those traditional homes, beside recreated hearth fires, it becomes easier to imagine the world the Ainu once knew. The sound of wind outside, the smell of smoke and cedar, children listening quietly to stories beside the fire, snow falling endlessly beyond the doorway. In the world of the Ainu, food was never separate from nature. Every meal carried the memory of a river. Every hunt depended on patience, skill, and respect. Every season shaped what could be gathered, caught, preserved, or shared. Survival in the far north demanded attention to the land with extraordinary precision. Winters in Hokkaido could become unforgiving. Snow buried forests. Rivers froze. Coastal storms battered fishing grounds. Hunger was never a distant idea. And so the Ainu learned to live in close partnership with the rhythms of nature. The rivers were among their greatest sources of life. Each year, salmon returned upstream in enormous migrations, fighting against currents to reach the places where they would spawn. For the Ainu, this was more than a food source. It was one of the central events of survival itself. Fishing villages became alive with movement during salmon season. Men stood in cold rivers using spears and traps. Wooden canoes moved through mist-covered waters. Fish flashed silver beneath the surface before disappearing into rushing currents. The air filled with the sound of splashing water and human voices echoing between forested riverbanks. Salmon provided nourishment through the harsh northern winters. Fish were dried carefully above smoke fires, preserved for storage, or cooked fresh over open flames inside village homes. Every part of the catch was used thoughtfully, because waste in such environments could become dangerous. But rivers alone could not sustain life year-round. The forests also fed the people. Ainu hunters tracked deer through woodland trails with remarkable skill. They understood animal behavior through generations of observation. Snow patterns, broken branches, distant sounds, and even subtle disturbances in the forest floor revealed movement to experienced hunters. Hunting required patience. Silence mattered. Wind direction mattered. Timing mattered. The hunter moved as part of the forest rather than against it. Deer meat became an essential food source, especially during colder months. Animal skins provided clothing and materials for daily life. Bones became tools. Nothing existed without purpose. And then there was the bear. No animal held greater significance in Ainu culture. The brown bears of the north were enormous creatures, powerful enough to kill with terrifying speed. Yet the Ainu viewed them with deep spiritual reverence. Bears were believed to be kamui, divine beings temporarily visiting the human world in physical form. This belief transformed hunting into something far more sacred than simple survival. When bears were hunted, rituals often surrounded the act. Respect was essential. The animal was not viewed as an enemy or mere prey, but as a spiritual being whose return to the spirit world required ceremony and gratitude. The emotional complexity of this relationship shaped many aspects of Ainu life. Fear existed, but so did reverence. Beyond hunting and fishing, gathering also played a vital role. Women and children collected edible plants, roots, nuts, berries, mushrooms, and medicinal herbs from forests and riverbanks. Seasonal knowledge passed carefully between generations. Certain plants appeared only during narrow periods of the year. Some cured illness. Others strengthened the body during winter. The land itself became a vast source of memory. People knew where herbs grew best, where fish gathered, where deer crossed rivers, where storms struck hardest. Along the coastlines, the sea provided additional life. Fishing boats ventured into dangerous northern waters to catch cod, trout, and other cold water species. Seaweed and shellfish were collected from rocky shores. In some northern regions, seals and larger marine animals were also hunted. Food preparation reflected practicality rather than extravagance. Meals were often simple but nourishing. Fish roasted over fire. Wild plants boiled into soups. Dried meats preserved against hunger. Broths simmering slowly in wooden homes during winter storms. And despite the harshness of life, there was beauty within these routines. Smoke rising into frozen air. Children helping prepare salmon beside rivers. Hunters returning through snow-covered forests at dusk. Families gathered around firelight while storms raged outside. Food connected everything. Nature, community, spiritual belief, survival. The Ainu did not see themselves as rulers over the natural world. They understood themselves as participants within it. To hunt required gratitude. To fish required restraint. To survive required balance. Even now, traditional Ainu foods remain powerful cultural symbols. Dishes prepared from salmon, venison, mountain plants, and northern ingredients continue to preserve memory across generations. Because within every shared meal lives the story of a people shaped by forest, river, snow, and sea. A people who learned not merely how to survive the North, but how to belong to it.
The clothing of the Ainu carried the shape of the North within it. It carried rivers, forests, snow, firelight. Nothing about it was careless. Every thread, every carved pattern, Every woven design held purpose, born from generations living close to nature. In the cold northern territories of Hokkaido and beyond, clothing was first a necessity against harsh winters and icy winds. But over time, it also became something deeper: identity, protection, spiritual expression. To see traditional Ainu clothing moving through the smoke of a winter village was to see a culture woven directly into fabric itself. One of the most remarkable materials used by the Ainu came not from animals, but from trees. The inner bark of elm trees could be stripped, softened, and transformed into thread-like fibers. From these fibers, women created durable cloth known as atos. The process demanded extraordinary patience and skill. Bark had to be harvested carefully, soaked, beaten, separated into fibers, and woven by hand into garments strong enough to survive northern conditions. The finished robes possessed an earthy beauty, soft brown tones, natural textures, flowing shapes that moved gently with the body. During colder months, additional garments made from animal skins helped protect against freezing temperatures. Deer hides, salmon skin, bird feathers, and fur were all used depending on availability and climate. In the brutal winters of the north, survival depended on warmth, and the Ainu learned how to use the resources around them with remarkable efficiency. But functionality alone did not define Ainu clothing. The patterns mattered deeply. Across robes, sleeves, hems, and collars, intricate designs curled and flowed in repeating shapes. These patterns often resembled spirals, thorns, waves, or twisting forms inspired by nature itself. Dark blue fabrics embroidered with white or pale stitching created striking visual contrast, especially against snowy landscapes. And these designs were believed to do more than decorate. Many patterns served as spiritual protection. Certain symbols were thought to guard the wearer from harmful spirits or unseen forces. Openings in clothing, such as cuffs, collars, and hems, were especially important because they were viewed as places where dangerous energies might enter the body. Embroidery acted almost like a barrier between the human world and unseen dangers. Even clothing carried spiritual meaning. Women became highly respected for their weaving and embroidery skills. Knowledge passed from mothers to daughters through years of observation and practice. The creation of garments was slow and careful work, often performed beside household fires during long winters, while snowstorms swept across the villages outside. There was rhythm in the movement of weaving, the quiet pull of thread, the crackling of firewood, the murmur of stories carried through generations. And alongside clothing, body art held enormous cultural importance. Among traditional Ainu women, tattoos were especially significant. One of the most recognizable forms involved tattooing around the mouth, gradually expanding over time as a girl grew older. Dark markings framed the lips in shapes that outsiders often misunderstood, but which carried deep cultural meaning within Ainu society. These tattoos symbolized maturity, identity, beauty, and spiritual readiness. The process itself could be painful. Using small tools and soot-based pigments, markings were applied gradually over years rather than completed all at once. Additional tattoos sometimes appeared on hands and arms as well. The practice connected women to ancestral tradition and community identity. To the Ainu, these markings were not strange or frightening. They were part of becoming fully human within the culture. And yet these traditions would later face severe suppression. As Japanese control expanded northward during the 19th century, many Ainu customs were restricted or banned outright. Traditional tattoos became prohibited. Indigenous clothing was discouraged. Pressure to assimilate into mainstream Japanese society grew increasingly aggressive. entire visual identities were targeted. Over time, many families stopped wearing traditional clothing in daily life, fearing discrimination or punishment. Younger generations grew up separated from practices that had once defined their ancestors for centuries. But the traditions never disappeared completely. Today, Ainu artisans continue reviving ancient weaving techniques and embroidery patterns. Cultural festivals display beautifully crafted robes inspired by traditional designs. Tattoo symbolism survives through historical preservation, artwork, and renewed pride in indigenous identity. And when those garments appear against the northern landscapes once more, something ancient seems to return with them. A reminder that clothing can carry memory, that patterns can preserve history. In the world of the Ainu, family was not simply a household, it was survival. In the harsh northern lands of Hokkaido, where winter storms could isolate villages for weeks, and food depended on cooperation between hunters, fishers, gatherers, and craftsmen, no one truly lived alone. Life depended on shared labor, shared memory, and shared responsibility. And at the center of that world stood the family hearth. Inside the warm glow of the shise, the traditional Ainu home, generations often lived closely together. Grandparents, parents, children, and relatives shared space, work, stories, and hardship beneath roofs built to withstand the northern cold. Smoke drifted upward through the darkened rafters, while voices moved softly through firelight. It was here that children first learned the rhythms of Ainu life: how to carve wood, how to weave fibers, how to prepare fish, how to respect the spirits believed to move through nature. Knowledge was not taught through books, it lived in observation. A child watched carefully, listened quietly, repeated slowly, and over time, tradition settled into the body almost naturally. Marriage within Ainu society was both personal and communal. Relationships formed within villages or through connections between neighboring communities along rivers and coastlines. Young men and women often met during gatherings, seasonal activities, festivals, or shared work between settlements. Courtship carried subtlety rather than spectacle. Affection might appear in exchanged gifts, shared conversations, carved objects, songs or gestures observed quietly by others within the community. Skill, reliability, kindness, and the ability to contribute to village life mattered deeply, because in such environments, survival depended on character. A strong hunter was valued. A skilled weaver was respected. A person known for generosity strengthened the entire community. Marriage ceremonies themselves varied between regions and time periods, but they were generally rooted in community acknowledgement rather than elaborate displays of wealth or political power. Families often played important roles in approving unions, especially in smaller settlements, where cooperation between households mattered greatly. Once married, couples built lives shaped by partnership. Men frequently focused on hunting, fishing, carving tools, building structures, or traveling for trade. Women carried enormous responsibility within the household and community. They prepared food, wove clothing, gathered plants, cared for children, maintained spiritual traditions, and preserved much of the oral culture through storytelling and songs. Yet these divisions were not simply rigid systems of dominance. Ainu women often held significant influence within daily life and spiritual practice. Their skills were essential to the survival and continuity of the community. Elder women, especially, carried deep cultural authority through their knowledge of ritual, healing plants, weaving traditions, and ancestral stories. The family structure itself was deeply interconnected. Children were rarely isolated from the wider community. Elders helped raise them. Relatives shared responsibilities. Villages functioned almost like extended families, bound together through cooperation and necessity. And always, respect for elders remained central. Older members of the community preserved memory. They carried stories reaching back generations, explaining the origins of rivers, hunting grounds, ceremonies, and spiritual customs. Around winter fires, children listened to long oral narratives filled with animal spirits, heroes, warnings, and lessons woven into myth and history together. These stories did more than entertain. They taught survival, identity, belonging. The emotional world of Ainu family life also contained tenderness, often overlooked in historical descriptions. Parents crafted toys for children from wood and cloth. Families sang together. Meals were shared communally beside the fire during long winters. Morning rituals reflected deep emotional attachment between relatives. Love existed not through grand declarations, but through daily acts of care, repairing clothing before winter, saving food during scarce seasons, walking together through snow-covered forests, protecting one another against hunger and cold. And yet, over centuries, these family structures faced immense pressure. As Japanese expansion intensified across the north, traditional Ainu communities experienced forced assimilation, land loss, poverty, and discrimination. Children were increasingly educated in Japanese systems that discouraged indigenous language and customs. Traditional marriages, clothing, spiritual practices, and even names began disappearing under outside control. Many families hid parts of their identity to survive. Some stopped teaching the language to younger generations. Others abandoned visible customs to avoid prejudice. The damage spread quietly across generations. But despite this, many Ainu families continued preserving fragments of culture within private spaces. Through recipes, stories, songs, crafts, and memories carried quietly through time. Today, those efforts remain deeply important. Modern Ainu communities continue rebuilding cultural knowledge once threatened with erasure. Younger generations are reconnecting with ancestral traditions, while elders work to preserve what survived. And within that revival lives the same truth that sustained Ainu families for centuries beneath the northern snow. That survival is never only physical, it is also memory, connection, the passing of identity from one firelit generation to the next. To the Ainu, the world was never empty. The forests were alive, the rivers were listening, the mountains carried presence. Even the wind moving through northern trees could hold meaning. In the traditional spiritual world of the Ainu, every part of nature possessed spirit and consciousness. Human beings did not stand above the world around them. They existed within a vast network of living forces, visible and invisible, moving constantly through the land. This belief shaped everything. How animals were hunted, how food was prepared, how homes were built, how people spoke to fire, water, and the spirits believed to dwell within them. At the center of Ainu spirituality were the Kamui, powerful spiritual beings connected to the natural world. The Kamui could appear in many forms. Some moved through animals, others through fire, storms, rivers, mountains, or even tools used in daily life. The physical world was only one layer of existence. Behind it lived another reality filled with unseen presence. And among all Kamui, few were more important than the spirit of fire. Inside every Ainu home in Hokkaido, the hearth fire burned at the center of daily life. But the fire was not viewed as ordinary flame alone. It was treated as a sacred being, a protector of the household, and a bridge between humans and the spirit world. Prayers were often spoken toward the fire. Offerings were made beside it. Families gathered around it, not only for warmth, but for spiritual connection. The fire listened. This closeness between spiritual belief and daily life created a worldview where respect mattered constantly. Actions carried spiritual consequences. Carelessness toward nature could disrupt harmony with the Kamui. Gratitude maintained balance. And nowhere was this more visible than in the Ainu relationship with animals. The bear held extraordinary spiritual importance. To outsiders, the forests of northern Japan might simply appear dangerous, places where enormous brown bears wandered silently through valleys and mountains. But to the Ainu, the bear was far more than a powerful animal. It was a divine visitor. The bear was believed to be a kamui, temporarily wearing a physical body while visiting the human world. When a bear was hunted or raised for ceremony, the event carried immense spiritual meaning. Rituals surrounded the animal with respect, prayer, and offerings intended to honor the spirit and guide it safely back to the realm of the kamui. Fear and reverence existed together. The Ainu did not worship nature in the simplistic sense outsiders sometimes imagine. Rather, they lived in ongoing relationship with forces they understood as spiritually alive. Rivers were approached with awareness, mountains with caution, storms with humility. Even carved prayer sticks, known as inao, carried spiritual purpose. These carefully shaved wooden objects were created during ceremonies and offerings, acting as connections between humans and the unseen world. They stood near fires, sacred places, and ritual gatherings, their curling wood fibers moving gently in the wind. The spiritual world also shaped storytelling. Across generations, oral traditions preserved myths explaining the origins of animals, landscapes, spirits, and humanity itself. Some stories described kamui descending into the human world disguised as animals. Others warned against greed, arrogance, or disrespect toward nature. These were not merely legends told for entertainment. They taught moral balance, survival, identity, and during the long winters of the North, these stories became a part of village life itself. Outside, snowstorms howled across frozen forests. Inside, children listened beside the firelight, while elders spoke of ancient spirits moving through rivers and mountains older than memory. Death, too, held spiritual complexity. The Ainu believed the spirit continued beyond physical life, returning to the world of the kamui. Rituals surrounding death often reflected both mourning and careful respect for spiritual transition. Objects belonging to the dead could carry significance. Words spoken during ceremonies mattered deeply. But over time, these beliefs faced increasing pressure. As Japanese authority expanded across the North, many traditional spiritual practices were discouraged, restricted, or misunderstood. Outside religions and government systems often viewed Ainu beliefs as primitive or backward. Ceremonies declined. Sacred traditions faded in some communities. Yet the spiritual worldview never vanished entirely. Even today, many Ainu cultural practices continue carrying traces of ancient beliefs about nature, respect, and interconnectedness. Ceremonies are still performed. Sacred songs survive. Carved inao remain powerful symbols of cultural identity. And in the northern landscapes, where the Ainu once lived closest to the rhythms of the wild, it becomes easier to understand why these beliefs emerged. A river rushing through silent forest, mist gathering beneath volcanic mountains, a bear's tracks crossing fresh snow at dawn. In such places, the boundary between the physical and spiritual world can feel astonishingly thin, as though the land itself is still watching, still breathing, still alive with unseen presence beneath the northern sky. In the world of the Ainu, ceremony was woven into life itself, not separated from survival, not reserved only for temples or sacred buildings. Ritual lived beside rivers, around hearth fires, within forests and villages touched by snow, smoke, and the breath of the northern wind. The ceremonies of the Ainu emerged from a belief that humans existed in constant relationship with the Kamui, the spiritual beings believed to move through nature. Every important act carried meaning. Hunting, fishing, childbirth, death, seasonal change, and even the sharing of food could become sacred when approached with respect. And so throughout the year, villages gathered for rituals that strengthened the bond between community, nature, and spirit. Some ceremonies were quiet and intimate. Others filled entire settlements with song, prayer, movement, and firelight. One of the most sacred and widely known Ainu ceremonies was the Iomante, often called the bear-sending ceremony. To outsiders, it could appear mysterious, emotional, even unsettling. But within Ainu belief, the ceremony reflected profound spiritual respect. The brown bear of Hokkaido was believed to be a powerful kamui, temporarily living in animal form within the human world. In some communities, a bear cub might be raised carefully for a period of time within the village itself. It was treated with honor and care because it was understood not merely as an animal, but as a divine visitor. And when the time came for the Iomante ceremony, the entire village participated. Men prepared ritual spaces. Women prepared food and ceremonial garments. Prayers were spoken beside carved inao prayer sticks. Songs echoed through the cold air. The ceremony marked the spiritual release of the bear back into the realm of the kamui. There was sorrow within it, but also gratitude. To the Ainu, the ritual allowed the spirit to return, carrying the respect, offerings, and hospitality of the human world back to the divine realm. It reflected the belief that survival required balance between taking life and honoring it. Beyond the Iomante, many other seasonal festivals shaped village life. Salmon ceremonies welcomed the return of fish to northern rivers after long winters. Hunting rituals sought protection and success before entering dangerous forests. Harvest gatherings celebrated edible plants and changing seasons. Communities prayed for health, safety, and continued harmony with nature. Music played an essential role in these ceremonies. Traditional Ainu songs often carried deep emotional rhythm, repetitive, flowing, almost hypnotic in movement. Voices rose beside drums and simple instruments, while dancers moved in circles around fires or ritual spaces. Some dances mimicked birds, animals, or natural movement itself. The atmosphere could feel almost dreamlike. Smoke drifting upward into winter darkness, drum beats echoing through snow-covered villages, flickering firelight reflecting across embroidered robes. Ancient songs carried into the cold northern air. Women held especially important ceremonial roles within many rituals. Their songs, prayers, weaving, and spiritual knowledge helped preserve the continuity of tradition across generations. Elders guided younger members carefully through the meaning behind ceremonies, so sacred practices would not disappear. And much of this knowledge survived through oral memory alone. No large written scriptures existed. No monumental stone temples dominated the landscape. The ceremonies belonged to the people themselves, to the village, to the fire, to the living memory of the community. Even ordinary acts often carried ritual elements. Before meals, offerings might be placed near the hearth fire. During hunting expeditions, words of respect could be spoken toward animal spirits. Sacred objects were treated carefully because spiritual power was believed to move through the physical world constantly. Life itself became ceremony. But over time, many of these traditions faced severe disruption. As Japanese control expanded northward during the 19th century, government assimilation policies increasingly restricted Ainu customs. Ceremonies were discouraged or banned outright. Traditional spiritual practices were dismissed as backward. Younger generations were pressured to adopt mainstream Japanese culture instead. Some rituals disappeared entirely in certain regions. Others survived only in fragments, carried quietly within families determined not to forget. And yet the spirit of these ceremonies endured. Today, Ainu cultural festivals are once again held publicly in parts of Hokkaido. Traditional dances, songs, carving, and rituals continue through cultural preservation efforts and indigenous revival movements. Ceremonial spaces now welcome younger generations seeking connection with ancestral identity once threatened by silence. And when those songs rise again beneath the northern skies, something ancient seems to awaken alongside them. The rhythm of drums, the movement of dancers, the glow of fire against winter darkness, not relics of a vanished people, but living echoes of a world where humans once believed every river, mountain, animal, and flame carried spirit. A world where ceremony was not escape from life, but a way of honoring it. The modern story of the Ainu is not only one of survival against nature, it is also a story of survival against erasure. For centuries, the Ainu lived across the northern territories of Hokkaido, developing their own language, spiritual traditions, clothing, ceremonies, and ways of understanding the world. But as Japan expanded northward during the 19th century, the lives of the Ainu began changing with painful speed. The forests remained, the rivers still flowed, but the world surrounding them was transforming. The arrival of increasing Japanese settlement in Hokkaido brought roads, farms, government administration, and large-scale development into lands where Ainu communities had lived for generations. Hunting grounds shrank. Rivers used for salmon fishing became regulated or restricted. Traditional lifestyles built around movement through forests and waterways became increasingly difficult to maintain, and alongside these changes came pressure to assimilate. The Japanese state sought to transform the Ainu into subjects who looked, spoke, dressed, and behaved according to mainstream Japanese society. Traditional tattoos worn by Ainu women were banned. Ceremonies faced restriction. Indigenous language use declined as Japanese education systems spread across the north. Children entered schools where speaking Ainu could bring punishment or shame. Many families stopped teaching the language altogether, not because they wished to abandon it, but because they feared for their children's future. And slowly, silence began spreading across generations. Traditional clothing disappeared from daily life. Spiritual rituals became hidden or abandoned. Some families concealed their Ainu identity entirely to avoid discrimination, because prejudice followed closely behind assimilation. For decades, many Ainu people experienced social exclusion, economic hardship, and racism within wider Japanese society. Harmful stereotypes portrayed them as primitive or backward. Employment opportunities could become limited once a person's ancestry became known. Some concealed family history, even from neighbors or classmates. Identity itself became dangerous. The emotional cost of this silence was enormous. Entire generations grew up disconnected from ancestral language and traditions. Cultural memory weakened. Elder speakers passed away without younger relatives able to understand their words fully. Songs, stories, and spiritual knowledge faded quietly within communities, carrying centuries of pressure. And yet, despite everything, the Ainu endured, quietly, persistently. In private homes, Fragments survived, recipes passed from grandparents to children, songs remembered imperfectly but lovingly, carved wooden patterns preserved through craft, stories whispered beside family tables. By the late 20th century, a growing movement for Ainu recognition and cultural preservation began gaining strength. Activists, scholars, artists, and community leaders pushed for acknowledgement of historical injustice and protection of indigenous identity. The silence slowly began to break. In 2008, the Japanese government officially recognized the Ainu as an indigenous people of Japan, a significant symbolic moment after generations of denial and marginalization. Cultural centers, museums, language revitalization projects, and traditional arts programs began receiving greater attention. Places such as Shiraoi became important centers for preserving and sharing Ainu culture with future generations. Traditional music, dance, embroidery, carving, and oral storytelling found new life among younger people seeking connection with ancestral roots. But challenges remain. The Ainu language is still critically endangered. Many traditional practices survive only in reconstructed form. Economic inequality and social discrimination have not disappeared completely. And there remains a painful question carried quietly by many indigenous communities around the world. How much can be recovered once generations have been forced into silence? Modern Ainu identity now exists between worlds. Ancient traditions survive alongside modern cities. Young activists use digital media to preserve oral history. Cultural revival grows within a highly industrialized nation. The struggle is no longer only about physical survival. It is about memory, visibility, the right to exist openly without shame. And there is something deeply moving in that resilience. Because despite centuries of pressure to disappear, the Ainu remain. Their songs still rise across northern landscapes. Their art still carries ancient patterns. Their ceremonies still gather beneath winter skies. The forests of Hokkaido still stand. Salmon still return upriver. Snow still falls across the northern land their ancestors once knew so intimately. And within that enduring landscape, the Ainu continue reclaiming what was never truly lost. Their voice, their history. The fire burns softly inside the wooden house. Outside, snow falls through the forests of Hokkaido in complete silence. The river nearby continues its endless movement beneath ice and moonlight. Somewhere deep in the dark woodland, a bear moves slowly between the trees. And in this stillness, the story of the Ainu begins to feel larger than history alone. Because the world the Ainu built was not based on domination. It was built on relationship. For generations, the Ainu lived in one of the harshest environments in East Asia. Winter could become deadly. Food depended on uncertain migrations, difficult hunts, and changing seasons. Nature possessed overwhelming power, capable of taking life without warning. Yet instead of viewing the natural world as something to conquer, the Ainu learned to approach it with respect. This may be one of the most important lessons they offer today. Modern societies often speak about controlling nature, extracting from it, reshaping it endlessly to suit human ambition. Forests become resources, rivers become utilities, animals become numbers within industries. But the Ainu worldview followed a different path. The forests were alive, the rivers possessed spirit, animals deserved gratitude. Taking from the earth required humility. This did not mean life was easy or romantic. The Ainu hunted, they fished, they survived through difficult labor. But survival existed alongside reverence. A hunted animal was honored. A river was approached respectfully. Waste was avoided because resources were understood as sacred gifts rather than endless commodities. In a world now facing environmental destruction, climate instability, disappearing species, and exhausted ecosystems, this way of thinking feels increasingly important. The Ainu remind us that human beings are not separate from nature. We remain dependent upon it, whether modern life hides that truth or not. There is also wisdom in the Ainu understanding of community. Life in the north could not be survived through isolation. Families depended on one another. Villages shared labor, knowledge, and responsibility. Elders preserved memory. Skills passed through generations slowly and carefully. Modern life often celebrates individual success above all else. But the Ainu way of life reveals another kind of strength: interdependence. A community survives when knowledge is shared, when people care for one another, when identity is preserved collectively rather than individually. Even storytelling carried purpose beyond entertainment. Oral histories preserved ethics, survival skills, spiritual understanding, and cultural memory across centuries without written systems. Stories connected people to ancestors and landscape alike. And perhaps this too is something modern societies risk forgetting. That memory matters. Not only technological progress, not only speed, not only constant expansion, but continuity, belonging, the ability to remember where we came from. The Ainu story also teaches something profound about resilience. For generations, they endured discrimination, forced assimilation, land loss, and cultural suppression. Their language declined. Their ceremonies were restricted. Entire identities were pushed toward silence. And still, the culture survived, quietly at times, painfully at times, but it survived. Today, younger generations of Ainu artists, activists, musicians, and cultural leaders continue rebuilding what earlier generations struggled to protect. Language classes return ancient words to life. Traditional songs rise once more beneath northern skies. Embroidery patterns and carved designs carry memory forward into the modern world. There is dignity in that survival, not because the suffering itself was noble, but because the refusal to disappear required extraordinary endurance. And perhaps the deepest lesson the Ainu offer is this: human beings do not need to dominate the world in order to belong within it. There is another way to live, a slower way, a more attentive way, a way that notices rivers, seasons, animals, silence, and the unseen connections between living things. The Ainu understood that survival depended not only on strength, but on balance. Balance between taking and giving, between humans and nature, between memory and change. Even now, in the forests and snowy landscapes of the north, that wisdom still lingers. In the sound of wind through cedar trees, in the return of salmon upriver, in firelight flickering against carved wooden walls. The story of the Ainu is not merely the story of a vanished past. It is a reminder that cultures shaped by respect for the earth still have something vital to teach the modern world. And beneath the cold northern sky, the voices of the Ainu continue to endure, carried through snow, forest, river, and memory into the future. I expect you to be asleep by now. But if you are not, I'd love to hear from you before you go. What's the most fascinating tribe or culture you've ever come across? Or one you would love to visit someday? Drop it in the comments below, and also let me know where you're watching from. I always enjoy seeing people from different parts of the world joining at these journeys with us. And if you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like the video, and turn on notifications so you never miss the next adventure into the hidden cultures, histories, and tribes of our world. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next story.